You might know Cecil because Cecil was literally the face of on.net for years upon years. And you even had me on one or two times.
Yeah. And we did a bunch of videos on Xamarin and tons of cool stuff. But you know what? I'm really excited to see the team continue to like keep the show going. And there's been a lot of amazing guests on there. So definitely love to see what's happening there.
Yeah, I'm super excited for it. We have a whole brand new 2023 lineup, streamlined process. I'm all about automation. So if you haven't subscribed to the .NET YouTube, go ahead and do it. We're almost at 200,000 subscribers, which is bananas. And we couldn't have done it without you, Cecil.
That's
So it's
crazy.
all there. It's happening. But today,
Today,
we're going to be talking about Stripe checkout payments. I'm super excited about this. I love Stripe. I love when people do it. It's so seamless. So I'm going to let you take it away, buddy.
Sure, appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. All right, hey everyone. So, like James said, my name is Cecil Phillip, and thank you all so much for joining me, making some time for the session. We're gonna learn about how you can accept money in your applications, right? Like that's really what we're here to talk about. But super quick, for you folks that don't know me, there we go. My name is Cecil Phillip. I'm a developer advocate at Stripe. I originally am from the Caribbean. I'm born and raised in Antigua, and now I live in Florida, where, like James also mentioned, there's a incoming hurricane. So hopefully nothing crazy happens while we're doing this session right now. But feel free to ping me on any of these networks. Twitter, GitHub. I don't have a Mastodon account. I'm sorry, not yet. But totally feel free to reach out to me anywhere you feel like it. All right. So let's talk about accepting money. Almost pretty much every business needs to be able to accept money, right? If you think about folks that are, I don't know, selling lemonade at a lemonade stand, like your kids are doing it outside for the summer, or maybe you're selling cars, or maybe you have like a SaaS business, right? And you have like some type of recurring subscription thing that people pay you for every month, right? Or maybe you're accepting donations, like whatever the type of businesses that you're running. At some point in time, we need to figure out, well, how can I start accepting money, right? Like how can I start generating revenue, and how can I do that, with the flexibility to know that, hey, I'm going to want to be able to grow, as we kind of move forward. Now, if we take a look really quickly at what the payment landscape has looked like over the past couple of years, it's, you can see that it's continuously, evolving over time, right? So we can see that, a lot of folks, use credit cards, and, that's common, right? Visa, MasterCard, American Express, so on and so forth. But then we started to move forward for more convenient, more unobtrusive ways of payment, right? Like a lot of folks, I'm sure, have like Apple Pay or Google Pay, right? Like I'm sure many of you go to the supermarket and might, tap your watch, right? And you pay with your groceries or whatever it is that you buy with your watch, right? Because you have these types of things available like on your devices and things of that nature, right? And if we look at some other parts of the world as well, there's a lot of other interesting types of payment methods, right? We talk about things like maybe Klarna or Boleto or, direct debit, and some of these different types of options as well, right? So the fact of the matter is, like, there's so many different options for folks to be able to accept payments, right? And we need to be able to figure out where our customers are and what are going to be the things that they need to, be able to pay us, right? Because that's important. If you kind of look at the global landscape for a second, again, I know most of us that are probably watching from the United States, maybe, credit card is probably like the most common and the most convenient way for us to accept payments. But if we look at it globally, it's only 40% of the commerce marketplace, right? Like only 40% of people across the world are accepting payments using credit cards. So what about that other 60%, right? Like I'm pretty sure you want to be able to work with them as well, right? And offer payment methods that are comfortable for them to be able to use. And so this is kind of where Stripe comes into play, right? Drum roll, do-do-do-doom, right? And so Stripe, what it does is it tries to offer like a global payment infrastructure across the web. Payments is just one of the many things that happens there, but it's probably the most common thing that you might know Stripe for today. But not only does it allow you to set payments, but it allows different types of currencies. It supports different types of countries, and there's tons of other amazing services that it offers as well. And what we're going to do is see some demos about how you could start adding that to your .NET application. Now, if a lot of folks care about this type of stuff, like who are the types of folks that are using Stripe, right? So again, if you have maybe like a software platform business, you think about folks like Amazon and Shopify and Booking.com, for instance, or even things like marketplaces, right? You can imagine something like a Lyft or Uber Eats, right? Like where you pay one person and then that money now is like paid out to other folks on the back end of it, right? Like we think about those as like marketplace experiences, right? Or again, we talked about SaaSes or even just like retail companies that, maybe I'm going into a department store, or maybe, I'm going into just, purchase some food or some groceries or whatever the case is, right? Like these are the types of companies that Stripe has been powering today. But like Stripe from the beginning has always been a very API friendly type company, right? Like the focus is how can we empower developers to do some of their best work by getting out of their way and allowing them to, quickly accept payments and then really focus on the things that are really important to the business, right? Which is again, like adding business value. So the reason why this is important now is because I want to show you one of the ways that I personally think are, one of the easiest ways that you could start accepting payments inside of your applications today. And that's using this thing called Stripe Checkout. So super quick. So like, what is Stripe Checkout? Stripe Checkout is essentially like our hosted payment experience, right? And so that means that, you yourself don't have to manage or maintain or update or, think about, compliance and some of these other things when it actually comes to accepting payments in your applications, right? Instead, you could let us do it for you, right? And we'll handle all that heavy work and we'll deal with all of that. And all you have to do now is just let us know, well, what are the products that you want to buy, how much they cost, who's the customer, like send us some of that basic information, and then we'll process that on our backend. Now, the great thing I like about Stripe Checkout is that you have the option you can either go full on code in, right? Like you could write it all in, C#.net yourself if you wanted to, or you can use the no code option as well. So again, just depending on the type of business that you're building and the type of integration you want, you have the option to go from one way to the other. Another cool thing about Stripe Checkout is that, if you want to customize it, now all I really need to do is probably, hit a couple of check buttons and flip some switches. And now I could do things like, well, maybe I want to accept coupons or apply discounts, right? Maybe I want to collect addresses and phone numbers, like some of these types of different things. Or maybe I want to turn those things off, right? All depending on what you're trying to do, you have the ability to do that. But then also remember, like, you're not maintaining like this payment experience, right? This is not a thing you have to build. This is not a Razor page or, a Blazor component that you have to write for yourself if you don't want to. This is something that we could host for you. And again, you can take some of that pressure off developers so they could go ahead and do some other things. So let's take a look really quick and see what the checkout workflow kind of looks like, right? So as you can imagine, so a customer is on your website, right? Or even on your mobile phone. And then they click a button, let's say pay or checkout, whatever you call your button. And then now what that's going to do is going to redirect over to Stripe Checkout, right, on the client. And now on the server side, we're going to create what's called like a checkout session, right? So again, that's going to have all the metadata, right? All the important things about that purchase that you're trying to make. So like, what were the things in your cart? How many of them were there? What's the currency, right? Again, any coupons applied, phone numbers, again, so on and so forth. Like all of the things that are important for us to know how exactly are we going to process the payment, right? And so then it gets processed on the back end. And then what's going to happen is that now Stripe is going to return you like a URL. And this URL is going to be like your customized checkout page. So now what you're going to do is you're going to hand that page over to your browser or your mobile browser or your desktop browser. And in that experience, your users are going to be able to securely put in their payment information, confirm, well, these are the things that I want to purchase. And then again, we're going to send it back to Stripe and the payment's got to be processed. And then now at that point, you can decide, well, what exactly it is that I want to do with my user, right? And that's essentially what Stripe Checkout does. But I think I can show you better than I can tell you. So why don't I switch over and why don't we look at some demos, right? Like what do we see? What exactly does it take for us to start building stuff with Stripe Checkout? Okay. Now, first thing I'm going to say is here's where the code is. I know someone's going to ask me, Cecil's where's the code? So if you head over to GitHub right now, Cecil Phillip -stripe /Stripe Checkout event sample, then you'll be able to head over there and see what the demo looks like. Okay. Now, next thing I want to show you. So this is the Stripe dashboard, right? This is just like a demo account. It's not activated, as you can see, and not activated just means that I don't have any real bank accounts or companies attached to it. I just created this as like, test account for us to try some stuff out of it. But two important things I want you to notice as I kind of click around here in a little bit is one, I'm in test mode. So folks, if you're, doing stuff and testing around the account, make sure you're in test mode. But then I also have a list of products that I've already gone ahead and pre-populated in my Stripe account. So you can see I have like, some travel packages, because, I like to travel a little bit. And then I also have like some other events that are happening, on the inside, with different prices and so on and so forth. And then, but you can click here and I don't have any customers, man. So what's going on? This business is not doing too well. So why don't we head over to our website and see if we could register a customer? So this is what my events listing website looks like. We're going to take a second and just kind of run through the demo, and then I'll talk to you all about like how it's built and like what are some of the technologies that are running behind of it. But again, like what you're seeing here is, a collection of products, and these products or these events have all come from Stripe, right? And I use the Stripe API to be able to pull that stuff and display them to you in this UI, right? Now, if let's say I click on one of these, right? You can see I got the detail page. Notice here on the right side, it says log in to purchase, right? So what I'm doing, this is actually a Blazor front end, and I'm using like the authenticated view or authenticates ed view, right? To show like different UIs based on like whatever the state of my current user is. So again, I'm not logged in at the moment. So if I wanted to buy something, then I should probably log in and like give them some information. So I'm going to hit this login button. I'm going to put in my account. So let's just say username, Celso Philip. I'm going to put in a password here. Don't copy my password. It's mine. Oh, but that's right. I don't have I don't have an account, so I can't log in. So let's go at the bottom. No account. I'm going to hit register. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to register a customer, right? Let's say this is Celso Philip at yahoo.com, and I am going to give it a username. Now, notice at the bottom here in this custom form, I have a create Stripe customer. Now, this form that we're looking at is actually, and some of y'all probably noticed, is running an identity server. What I've done is I've gone ahead and I've customized the experience inside of Identity Server to allow me to add some additional fields whenever I create a user. So this little checkbox I have here at the bottom, what it's going to do is that whenever I register a customer, it's going to create a user in my custom user database that I'm using. I'm not using ASP.NET Identity, but I have my own custom provider, so to speak, that I'm using. But then now, not only will it do that, but it's going to go ahead and create a customer inside of Stripe for me. So now I have a connection between the user in my database, right, and the user that's in Stripe, right? So if I head back over to customers and I refresh this page super quick, I should have a customer in here, right? And the customer should be Celso Philip and Celso at yahoo.com, right? We just created that just now, right? So again, my user of my application and my customer have now been connected, right? And again, we'll see the code that enables that in a second. Okay, so I'm going to click the thing. Now I can click on tickets, right? I want to buy this thing. And then now it's going to send me over to that custom page that I talked about, right? So if you look at the URL, I don't know if you can see that. That might be a little tiny. But up here, it says checkout.stripe.com. It doesn't say localhost anymore because that's what I was running on. But what I can do here is I can come in and I could just give some information about the payment methods I want to use. Now, notice here at the bottom, I have a couple of options, right? Like I could use cards, I could use bank accounts, right? I have credit card information I can hand in. Also notice here, I have like a thing for Google Pay and also a thing called Link for Stripe, which is also options that I have when I'm thinking about like making payments. Now, I want to do something super quick. I can practice this, but let's see what happens. I'm going to copy that URL and I'm going to put it in Safari, right? And now, so the Chrome browser's at the top, Safari's at the bottom. But I want you to notice that when I'm in Safari, notice it's giving me the Apple Pay button. And when I'm inside of Chrome, it's giving me the Google Pay button. Again, because the form is intelligent and it understands the context in that it's running it, right? And so now we have the ability to kind of, again, customize based on who our users are and where they're coming from. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in some fake credit card information. So I'm going to use that 4242 Visa number. Feel free to try it out yourself. And, if it happens to work, I take donations if folks want to buy me something. No, but that's just a test credit card number. I mean, that's just to say, hey, I want to do like a successful payments credit thing, right? And now what's going to happen is going to send me back to my website, right? So I've left checkout, come back to my website. Now I'm in the Enjoy Events page. Great. So now we've kind of seen what that demo looks like. Let's take a look at the code that enables some of the stuff. So over in in my IDE, here we go, right? So let's take a look at some of this code. So the first piece that I want to show you is, well, let's take a look at that customer profile service, because I know someone's going to ask me about it. And so we are inside of, let me make this a little bit bigger. So right now, I'm inside of my identity server project. And so identity server allows me to create this thing called an iProfile service. And so using that iProfile service, I'm able to go ahead and create the customer or customize the customer the way I wanted to. The reason that that's important is that a little bit further down at the bottom, you can see that after I have created that person, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create the Stripe customer. Where did I do it? I thought that was in here. Right, here we go. I'm going to query the Stripe customer from my custom database, right? Now, let's take a look and see what that looks like. I'm going to go into identity server. I'm going to go into pages, and I'm going to go into, I think there's a register one that I created. Accounts, register, click, 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 click. Great. And here we go, right? And so if we say, okay, right, so if that checkbox is selected, right, I want you to go ahead and like create the customer for me. So again, this is just me customizing identity server. Nothing yet to do with Stripe, right? But again, I'm just showing you the part that was able to connect those two pieces together. Now, after I've logged in, like essentially have claims in that account, right? And those claims can let me know who my customer is. So now when I head over and I hit that tickets button, what's going to happen, I'll show you this part. We're going to create a thing called the checkout session, right? And so this is the first part that we're actually going to start integrating with Stripe a little bit outside of us like showing like those products that were on the page. And so what I'm doing here is I'm creating a checkout session, and we have this create checkout session options type, and I'm giving it the line items. So like line items are just the things that I actually want to purchase. The mode is payment. Another mode could be subscription if it was a recurring payment, but it's not in this case. And then here I could select, hey, do I want to collect the phone number? I've commented out the address, but we can collect that as well. And then also I'm going to give it the URLs, right? So if it's successful, I want you to go to this page. And if it's canceled, I want you to go to this other page, right? Now, this part is pretty cool that I like a lot. Now, if our user is authenticated, there's really no reason that they shouldn't be at this point. But if our user is authenticated, I'm going to get the claim, right? Because again, in identity server, I added a Stripe customer claim. And I'm going to assign the customer to my create checkout session options. So what that does is that when I connect my user, it's going to start pre-populating some of that checkout form for me. Because otherwise, now we're going to have to fill out the whole form. And, we all hate filling out forms, right? But if we could pre-populate that for our users, that helps with conversions. And, we just leads to more successful checkouts in the future. But then I create that session, and then now I just return the URL, right? I return that URL to my Blazor front end. It's going to go ahead and redirect for me. And then now I have, the checkout form on the page, and then my user could fill out some of that interesting information. Okay. Now, how is it exactly that I got the Stripe session service? And where did the Stripe client thing come from? Now, these are just part of the stripe.net NuGet package. And then if you head over to the top, and again, I think I'm just using regular controllers. I'm not using like minimal APIs or anything yet. I'm passing in an iStripe client, which I've registered inside of my DI container. Now, if I want to show you what my registration looks like and the way that I recommend other folks register their Stripe client, it's kind of like this section right here. So I'm using like the HTTP client factory, which some of you folks may or may not have heard about. And then I'm also registering an iStripe client, right? After I register the iStripe client, I'm able to pass in things like my API keys. I can set the the amount of retries because there's a level of fault tolerance that's built into our API, and then turning on telemetry and some of these types of things as well. But then now I have that instance of the Stripe client that can pass to some of those other Stripe services. Another example of me doing that would be, for instance, if we take a look at not the checkout service, but if we take a look at the upcoming events. Right, like so that was that main page that showed all of those products, right? Like where did those come from? Well, here you could see that I'm querying the price service, right? And so when I query the price also comes attached with a product. So I'm saying, hey, give me the price for these things that are one-time payments. One-time payments just means that they're not subscriptions, right? So hey, give me this stuff, and I'm going to iterate through them. I'm going to create a nice, beautiful Blazor UI, and I'm just going to return a list of stuff that's happening on the screen. But as you can see, like the Stripe APIs are a very small part of the entire application, right? I mean, I could have created interfaces and all that kind of stuff for them, but I mean, there's really no need to, right? Like it's you're talking about a very small handful of endpoints that we're actually calling. Okay. Now, another important thing to know. So let's say, for instance, your payment was successful, or maybe your payment failed, or maybe the charge was successful, or new customers created. Like all of these are just different types of events that happen within Stripe itself. And so whenever these events happen, we fire off what are called webhooks, right? And so our Stripe webhooks are able to let you know asynchronously, hey, this thing happened inside of the system, right? And so one of the things that we can do is create like webhook handlers, just like a lot of other platforms do. And so what I'm doing here is an example of one of my webhook handlers. Here, this little snippet of code here is going to get my webhook secret, because it's a secret that everyone has, and you can get it from your Stripe dashboard. And I'm just like saying, hey, I want you to validate this request, right? Did it actually come from Stripe or not? And then after I do that, I'm going to look at the type of request it was, and then I'm going to do some stuff, right? Like, so here you can see, hey, was the checkout session completed? Did the session expire? Was the payment successful or not? Again, like you have a lot of different events that you can handle. And so folks are like, well, hey, when an event comes in, like, what do I do? Like, what happens next? And so usually this is the point where you probably want to kick off some type of payment workflow. I'm going to deprecate an inventory. I'm going to, I don't know, message shipping. I'm going to email the customer. Whatever it is that you need to have happen on the back end, now you fire that off coming from one of these webhook events. And this is a good place where you could use something like, I don't know, maybe Azure Durable Functions that does like workflows and checkpointing, or maybe even something like Orleans or Akka.net that have like persistent workflows, right? Like you can do something similar in these types of cases. But again, as you're handling your webhooks, you probably just want to fire that off and keep going, right? Like you don't want to like hang up your controller or hang up your method for too long as that's happening. Okay, so that's what that looks like. So now what I'm expecting is that if we head back over to the browser, right? And I hit refresh here, right? So Cecil should have had some things done, right? Like notice, so this is Cecil, I made a payment, right? I have invoices, I don't have any subscriptions or anything like that, but I can see what my customer's actually been doing. Another thing that I want to point out is that, so I showed you what the one-time payments look like. We also have the ability to do what's called subscriptions, which is cool. And like what I'm showing you right now is our subscriptions table. I did not build this. I wish I did, but I'm not that good of a designer. But this is a pre-packaged component from Stripe that you could use to like manage your different subscriptions. So you can see I can have yearly, monthly. I can probably have more if I wanted to. And then also notice like I have different prices for some of those items that are in here. So you might be wondering, hey, well, how do I actually create one of those things? Or like, how do I actually create a pricing table? So I'll show you the one I already created, the one that we're looking at right now. So essentially, we already have a selection of products. And all I did was, I just kind of came in here and I just added the products to the list. And so notice here, it gives you like the code that you can copy. So after you've, added your products, selected your prices, I can copy this little piece of code and I can add it to my Blazor application or, Razor Pages or MVC, whatever you're using for your front end. And now it will just render this for me. And as I click it, it's just going to do the same thing like it always does, right? Like I'm going to hit subscribe. It's going to send me over to this customized, Stripe checkout page. And then again, you guys get the point, right? Like we're going to go through the process of filling it out and so on and so forth. But again, the part that I really want you to recognize and notice is the fact that like this is all super customizable. So you have the ability to write code and generate the form yourself, or you have the opportunity to just kind of come around and click around in the UI and have it generated, and now you can copy paste it. So all depending on what you're trying to do, you have different options to kind of help you achieve your goals. So hopefully that made a little bit of sense to y'all, and y'all see how I think that is pretty easy for you to start integrating Stripe into your apps. Now, let's start talking about some developer resources really quick, right? So one of my favorite tools to use is the Stripe CLI. Stripe CLI allows me to do things like, hey, if I wanted to test my webhooks locally, or if I want to trigger events, You know what I mean? Like I can use the Stripe CLI to do some of those things. Really cool and fun command line tool to use. If you want to try out your Stripe APIs against your account, you can use the Stripe API that's inside of Postman. All you have to do is just have, again, your API keys and your webhook keys. You can put them in there and you can start making requests back and forth to see what that kind of feels like. And then we also have the Visual Studio Code extension for Stripe, which is really fun to use. It essentially is like a wrapper around the Stripe CLI. So anything you can do in the CLI, you can do in the extension, or vice versa, I should say. But again, if you're in VS Code and you don't want to switch to the terminal, like you can do a lot of cool and fun stuff in there as well. Now, that being said, if y'all want to learn a little bit more about like what some of us are doing on the advocacy team, I definitely recommend you head over to our Stripe developers YouTube channel, where we have live streams and videos and tons of fun stuff that y'all can check out. We also have an organization under dev.to where a lot of us are blogging and talking about some of the cool projects that we're working on as well. And and hopefully y'all, I know that was like super quick, but like hopefully y'all saw how easy it is for you to get started with Stripe and check it out. And as you're thinking about processing payments in your own applications, that might be something that you might want to check out using our .NET SDK. So with that being said, I think if anyone has any questions, like I'm going to pause for a cause for a little bit and let me know what y'all think.
Yeah, this is awesome, Cecil. I love seeing in action. I love just how simple the code is. Kind of makes sense there. We did get a bunch of questions coming in from James Montemagno, but also one question from the audience. So I got tons of questions. I'm super excited. We got some flowing in. So feel free to do some. First one, Marcus was asking, this is a fascinating question I didn't know the answer to, but can you actually process crypto payments with Stripe? Let's say you want to take in some Dogecoin, you got mass amount of Doge just hanging around. Is that part of the process, or is there a connector somehow?
No, we do not process cryptocurrency at the moment. No, I'm going to leave it at that. We don't do that.
Easy. Good enough. That's a good answer. Keep it simple. Yes. No. Okay. Here's another one from Kung Fury. If you aren't a user, when they filled in the data in on the Stripe checkout page, can you add that later? Like obviously you might already have an existing user database, right? If they aren't.
Yeah. I mean, you could do it whenever you think it's comfortable for you to do it. Like I just showed it that way because I know that's one of the most common questions we have. Like, how do I tie my user and my account together? But again, all depending on what the experience of your app is, you could do it later or after the fact. So again, maybe you want folks to be able to add things to a cart and, adjust the quantities before they even log in. That's fine. It's kind of what we do when we're on like things like Amazon and stuff. Right? Like I don't have to log in to add stuff to a cart. When it's time for me to check out, then you might want folks to log in. Or if you want to do like a guest checkout, the only thing that will happen is that Stripe is going to create like a dummy customer for you in the backend, right? And because it needs to be attached to somebody, right? Like there needs to be an email address or an address or a phone number or something, right? Similar to our products, like a lot of folks often ask, hey, well, what if I don't want to have my products in Stripe and I have them in my own product database?
Yeah,
that's fine. And then you could send that data and send it down into the API. But at the end of the day, it's going to create a product inside of Stripe because again, we have to be able to attach to something, right? So yeah, you don't have to have it up front, but again, at some point, it's going to just have to be there.
Very cool. A few other questions coming in on YouTube right now from Christian. Can you embed the Stripe checkout page in an iframe, or do you need that like deeper native integration that's in there?
Yeah, the Stripe checkout page itself is an iframe. So yeah, sure.
Yeah. All right. Here's a James question. Let's say I just want to accept money. Like let's say I'm a small business, right? And I'm going out and pretty much before, this is a real world scenario, by the way. Let's say I'm an irrigation company and I do irrigation blowouts for lawns that water themselves, right? And my old process was, hey, I just do pen and paper. You write me a check. Small town, just write me a check. But I want people to be able to give me a credit card payment easily. Can I just create is there something I can just put on the website that's like enter the dollar amount and an invoice number or something and make it happen Stripe? Can you just give me money, like PayPal almost, but for a business via Stripe? Is that a thing?
Yeah, sure. I think there's a couple options there. So we have this thing called payment links. So again, if I don't want to write code or I don't want to have a website or anything of the sort, You can create your products on Stripe. You can head over to the dashboard. Actually, maybe let me head over to my browser real quick, right? So we can head over to the dashboard, and let's say I wanted to click on, is it stuck? Oh, there we go. Right, if I head over to the dashboard and I clicked on one of these products as an example, and I might want to do something like create payment link. There we go, right? So again, I've written no code. I'm going to hit create payment link. And so now it'll generate and customize a form for me. Again, I've written no code, but again, this is like our no code option. So I could, allow promotion codes, yada, 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 do different types of things, donations, so on and so forth, right? But then now what will happen is that it will generate a link for you. And so I'll give you an example. The gentleman that cuts my grass for me, right? Like he has no website. He doesn't have an office. I talk to him via text message, right?
Yeah.
He's like, I'm coming today. Is it cool? I'm coming tomorrow. Here's your invoice, right?
Yeah.
Like that's how we communicate. And so I think something like this would be great for him because he could just say, I don't know, cut the grass, right? And then give me a number, right?
Yeah.
And then he sends me the link. And then all I have to do is just, fill out the information and he pays me, right? So again, like it doesn't have to be, again, a full-blown application, right? Like it could be something as simple as, hey, I don't know, maybe I want to, maybe you integrate with Twilio, right? Like I just want to send you a text message and here's the link to pay me. Here's my invoice, you pay me. And then, it's very much of a hands-off approach almost.
Very cool. That's awesome. I like that approach that there's options sort of for whatever your need is, which is cool.
Yeah.
Now here's another question for you. This one might be a very difficult one to answer, but I come from the mobile world, Cecil. That's my jam. And I know the app stores are all got sorts of requirements.
Sure.
But what is sort of the landscape for Stripe and how would developers think about using that if they are building mobile apps, for example?
So I have some good news and I have some bad news. So Stripe does have mobile SDKs, right? Like we have native iOS and Android SDKs. We don't have any Xamarin or Maui SDKs, sadly, because we're just not staffed for it. If I'm just being super honest and transparent with you, we're just not staffed for it. So what happens is like some of these ecosystems, we actually, in some occasions, sponsor a lot of the community to kind of help backfill some of that stuff for us. So if we think about like the Stripe React Native SDK or the Stripe Flutter SDK, like these are all, community-based, community-driven, and we do, help support them financially, usually through like GitHub, I think it's called GitHub, what's it called? GitHub donation, the GitHub sponsorships, there we go. Because again, like we just, there's only just so much we can do, right? And I think when it comes to those very specific experiences, you really need someone that's like using it and familiar with it versus like us generating a thing that's not going to give you the best experience. So yeah, so some good news, some bad news. So we do have those, but again, they're just not, we don't have any .NET versions of those at the moment. But if anyone is interested in building one, then let me know. And we can have a conversation about like what that could potentially look like.
Very cool. Now, of course, we do have Blazor Hybrid that runs in .NET MAUI app. So is it possible to run the just .NET web stuff on there? Is that a possibility?
You could totally do that, yeah, because like I showed you, the web stuff should work perfectly fine. Again, it's just going to be copy paste for the most part. If you're creating a mobile app, though, you are going to need a backend of some sort, right? It just is what it is. So I would say when it comes to things like because there's going to be keys and things of that nature, like a lot of your keys and your sensitive data, you keep that on the server side, and then you can do all the other UI fun stuff like on the front end.
Got it. Very cool. All right. I think that's all my questions that I have. But Cecil, I love it because it was really cool to see the back end. I don't really see the back end very much. I'm usually using the front end of Stripe all the time to make payments on things. I think often people, you're using Stripe, you don't even know it. Basically, I think that's often what I hear whenever you make whenever I see that page. I basically know when things are on the left and on the right. It's basically like this is happening right now.
It's a Stripe page.
And it looks nice. Why wouldn't you want to use it? It's a bunch of free stuff for good, which is awesome. I love seeing it. I love seeing that the options of how you can add the items, add the customers, and things like that. That's awesome, Cecil. I mean,
for me, it's really simple to use. Again, and if folks have questions or anything of the sort, feel free to let me know. We also have a Discord too, so if folks want to jump into Discord and have their questions answered there, that's also another option for folks.
Very cool, Cecil. Awesome. Thank you so much. It's good to see you. And actually, I'll be down in Florida pretty soon, so hopefully I'll see you in person as well.
Awesome, man. Well, good to see you too, my friend, and thank everyone for watching, and enjoy the rest of .NET Conf.